Well, welcome back to GBS Morning Extra. If you're just joining us, you're watching us live from our studios here in Nairobi. I'm really glad that you've joined us this morning. And as I mentioned earlier, today we are being joined by a very special guest, all the way from Wuhan, China. I'm probably sure by now, if anyone mentions the name Wuhan, you have an idea or two about what that means. And I'm really glad that today we can have this conversation so as just to get a feel of the real picture of what Wuhan is all about and what Kenyan students, and especially I'm talking about Kenyan students to be more particular, because since the coronavirus started, there was a lot of stir in the country at some point when parents wanted their children to be brought back home to the country. Some of them came back, some of them did not come back. But then I'm glad that we've got one of our students, Kenyan students. His name is Kenneth Kamau, who is studying at the Hearst University, if I may call it that. Kenneth, good morning.
Good morning, Timothy. Thank you for having me.
Do I call you Kenneth or do I call you Kamau?
Kenneth is just fine.
Kenneth is just fine. Kenneth, now, maybe you can just tell our viewers, what is Hearst University? I was having this conversation with you and I decided that I'll introduce the initials and you do the whole, you do the whole name.
Yeah, the Chinese accents are quite a challenge for most English speakers. So Hearst University is Huazhong University of Science and Technology, or rather how we call it in the Chinese language, Huazhou Ejidashui.
Oh, okay. I'll stick with the Huazhong University of Science and Technology. Now, very quick, because also I would like to engage you in a very open manner, Kamau, if I may. Maybe you can just share with us a little of your experience living there, and probably I know that this took a toll on many people, but then maybe you can just share with us your deal when this report first came to you guys, and what was the reaction? How did you receive this news yourself personally?
For us here in Wuhan, we heard about the virus much earlier than the rest of the world. It was around mid-December when we had of an outbreak, a possible outbreak in the city. Initially, we remained as positive as possible. Yes. We expected that it will be like most of the flus, swine flu, bird flu that we hear about, but do not get to a level where they affect our daily lives. But as of around mid-January, as I was starting my winter holiday, the numbers of the infections skyrocketed. And also the information on both the mainstream media and social media started to become alarming. And it was at that time that we began to take extra caution in how we do our daily duties. We began to wear the masks. It was first time for most of us, and I'm sure as most of you back in Kenya can agree with me, yes. Initially wearing a mask can be a little bit uncomfortable. I've seen cases in Kenya where people have to remove the mask while they talk, but for us here, we have come to get used to the situation.
To terms with it, yeah.
Yeah, so later, around 23rd of January, that's when the lockdown was declared on the city. It was initially, the lockdown was, we were around 23rd of January, Wuhan was where Nairobi is. The movement outside and into the city was restricted, but movement within the city was still permitted.
All right.
However, about 2 weeks down the line, much more measures were put in place, and we went into what we'll call the self-isolation, where we were not also allowed to intermingle within the city, and we only went out to get the very basic necessities, such as food and other personal effects. At that point, we expected that the lockdown would last for about 2 weeks. Going by the information we had from both the mainstream media and the social media was that the incubation period for this virus was 2 weeks. So we expected that the lockdown will go for about 2 weeks, but this was not to be. 2 weeks passed, 3 weeks passed, 4 weeks passed, and it went on. Gradually, the loneliness and the uncertainty of when it will end started creeping. But luckily for us who are within the universities came in very strongly to support us and provide us with food, about 3 meals a day, every day, and assist us in the purchasing of other supplies.
Well, quite interesting because one would like to ask themselves, how is life under a lockdown? I mean, Kamau, you're locked up in that room, you don't go out unless you're going to get food, like you're telling me earlier. You're going downstairs to get food, and you don't also, all of you in the apartment, go down at the same time. You know, you have to give each other the space and the time not to interact or not to mingle so much. How is life under that lockdown?
Maybe like to start with having been the first lockdown globally. There was a lot of panic for us and
Yes.
also for our relatives, friends, and concerned Kenyans back at home.
Sure.
So the first days of the lockdown were characterized by numerous calls and messages from people who were concerned about our situation. And we spent most of that time answering the questions, listening to information. But as for me, in some cases, we were forced to downplay the issue and even at times joke about it to keep our families calm, especially the parents and the siblings. This did not only calm their worries, but as well, as you smiled and laughed, it calmed us as well.
Sure. Because, yeah, proceed.
A few weeks down the line, initially, the first thing under lockdown is you have to secure the supply of basic needs. So we had stocked up enough supplies for about 2 to 3 weeks. But since the lockdown persisted, fortunately, the university came in. But however, for the things that we were supposed to purchase online, since most of the supermarkets here made online platforms, and other vendors such as the water vendors made online platform, it will take a few days for us to get some of these supplies. So we learned to plan ahead, and we were able to get most of these supplies. The loneliness, of course, was a big challenge. We took comfort in watching movies, the internet, and so on. The headaches definitely came in, the body pains. We were not having any physical exercises, and gradually I realized there was need for me to have some physical exercise. And my friend and I took this role where we will go up the stairs of the 18th floor building we live in every morning to make sure that we keep ourselves fit. And also it helped in improving our concentration and keeping us happy.
Well, Kamau, as we were having this conversation earlier, you told me something about, when the situation began and when it began to be, really serious, parents were calling for their children to be sent back home, but other countries set in, like the developed countries, they set in to, take back their children or their citizens. But what happens, what was the feeling when you see other nationalities being, taken back home, but you guys are there and the government is not moving and there's no even plan or talks of getting you out of Wuhan? How was the feeling of the Kenyan students there?
Maybe I'll start by saying that being in one of the leading universities here, there is a big number of international students.
Sure.
In my university and in Wuhan as well. So initially it was the big countries, maybe the first world countries. We are talking of Americans, the British, the French that evacuated their citizens.
Yes.
And for sure, being a realistic person, I did not feel left out at that point, since I come from a much smaller country.
Yes.
But as time went on and I watched as more and more of some of my friends being moved out, and it went on for quite some time. Mostly the Americans, Europe also did it. it also came to some Asian countries, and finally it came even to African countries such as South Africa. Now I thought, and especially when it came to South Africa, now I thought maybe we might be close. Maybe I thought we'll be the second or the third from South Africa. That was not to be. However, there was a lot of outcry from us here as students in Wuhan. There was also a lot of outcry from our parents
From
and
parents
friends
at
back at home, and also
Yeah.
other concerned Kenyans. I'm sure you witnessed it both on social media and through formal communication to the relevant ministries.
Yeah, sure, sure. We saw that. And you told me something that really made me, feel that emotion or that moment that, small countries such as Bangladesh getting their students out of there, but, Kenyan students are there. How is your heart then? Do you now lose heart? Did you feel left out?
Initially, we understood the complexity of the situation, and maybe we thought some smaller countries like our country might not have the capacity to do it. But when a friend of mine from Bangladesh was evacuated, I thought, I think we should also be evacuated. Also, there was the general feeling that if most countries are evacuating their citizens, it means that there is probably information that they are privy to that we might not know, and it only meant maybe the situation was much worse than we knew, we thought, and which was the case. But gradually we established communication with the Kenyan government, the embassy, and we worked. They provided some assistance, that I must say, but it was not up to our contentment, especially because we were almost hell-bent at an evacuation, which did not come, but that is in the past now. But when Corona started spreading to the rest of the world, then we thought maybe it was a good thing. Now the situation was much calm here, and we thought maybe it was a good thing that it did not come, since we did not know the risk. We thought maybe we would have posed a risk to the general Kenyan population by that time. And I would say we have come in terms with it now.
Now, are you guys still? How are you guys surviving in terms of food stuff? The school is helping you out in terms of food and things like drinking water.
The school came in very fast, and it has been always very supportive, providing 3 meals for us here at Hurst University.
Yes.
My colleagues in other universities, some have been urged to be provided with vegetables, raw rice, so that they can prepare it themselves. But it has actually assisted a lot. Apart from the food, other supplies, we were relying on some vendors who were working closely with the apartment management to assist us purchasing of these things. However, the prices had really gone up. There was a lot of inflation due to the complexity in the logistics of getting these supplies to where we were.
Sure, sure. Now, right now, the city of Wuhan, the situation has eased up a bit, and there's a little bit of movement here around there. Does that mean that you guys are now allowed some, little time to just go out and, get some fresh air, run 1 or 2 errands if you should?
I must say that the lockdown has been quite a process here, and it has been an organized process here. It started with the initial lockdown of the city. It went to self-isolation, and now they are lifting the lockdown in a similar process. They began with lifting the lockdown, allowing movement within the city, but it was not the case for us students, as the government here takes extra caution with us as international students. So for us, we have not been able to move outside the school as from 23rd of January, but as from last month, 25th of March, we are being allowed at least to go once per week out of our apartments once per week, upon requesting and granting of permission to buy supplies, but still within the university premises. But as of yesterday, further measures they have relaxed further measures, and now I'm allowed to go to the school canteen to purchase my own meals during mealtime in the morning,
Uh-huh.
and during lunch, and in the evening, but limited only to a few hours every day. And a lot of measures are still being taken in some of these places. As in the cafeteria, I cannot take my meals from there. I need to have it as a takeaway. A lot of measures are still being taken there. I have the compulsory taking and recording of temperatures at the entrances, compulsory identity registration, social distancing in the queues,
Sure.
and they are very careful with the handling of the food as they issue it to us. But we are very optimistic that with this going on, maybe in a month or so, normalcy might return. However, I must say that one thing I've learned from the situation here is that things will never really go back to what they were then. We will always continue taking some of these measures.
Sure.
Like to give an example with the Kenyan terrorism attacks. When we had some of these attacks, it became a norm for us to be checked for any weapons or explosive devices as we enter any building.
Sure,
And it
sure.
has become part of our lives. So I also think some of the things will remain with us for a very, very long time. Now it's not easy for me to accept a handshake. I'm even surprised when I see people shaking hands on a video. I'm like, I don't think we're supposed to do that.
Sure.
So some of these things will remain there for quite some time. The mask will definitely be there for quite some time.
Definitely, I do agree with you. Even here at home, we are really keen. And it's quite rare to find even someone who stretches his or her hands to you nowadays to greet. People just say hi, hi, and it's all. I mean, if you have to, if it's someone very close to you, then people would go to the extent of maybe using their feet to just have that, physical contact.
Yeah,
We are Africans
yeah,
and
sure.
we are used to some, that contact actually shows us that this person it means good. Kamau, what's the current situation of the Kenyan students in Wuhan right now as we speak? And could you estimate to us how many students, just an estimate of how many students you think would be in Wuhan today?
My estimate would be around, the number stands at around 90 now, as a good number of the students had already traveled home for their winter holiday,
Yes.
which goes between the mid of January to the mid of February.
Yes.
So they have been stuck at home. They will not be in a position to get back here, but have been able to access the online classes. Of course, not without some inconveniences here and there.
Sure.
As for Kenyans in Wuhan here, I cannot authoritatively speak to their position. As students here, we have our own association, and there are people mandated with this role. So there are people who have the exact details, but so far, so good. No, commenting from the information the embassy has been giving, they have said no Kenyan contracted the virus here in China, the entire of China. So that includes us here as students in Wuhan.
Wow, that's a wonderful thing because in some other countries we've actually had Kenyans who contracted the disease and even went on far even to, succumb to the same. But, one would want to ask themselves, on a lighter note, why did you decide to choose China for, higher education?
Being in the tech industry, I'm taking a master's in telecommunication engineering.
Yes.
China is always one of the leading options. As you know, technology is headed into the 5G network,
Yes.
which China is leading in its research. Their company Huawei is taking the lead both here at home, in Europe, in Africa, and all over the globe. So China would have it is just the ideal place to study telecommunication at this moment.
Because of the advancement also on the telecommunication. Now, what's the impact? Because, I mean, for interest of time, I would love to, us to conclude. But then before we do that, having gone through this experience and, seeing all this ordeal and going through, those months of lockdown, listening to information left, right, and center. Sometimes you don't even know what is true, what is not. And as we were talking earlier, you told me there's a time it came where you decided to just shut off the internet and not take anything from just anywhere. This must have left a permanent mark, something in your heart, in your mind that will go with you a long way. Is there anything like that that you'd like to share with us?
Maybe I'd like to comment on the shutting of the internet back when the pandemic was at its peak here. There was a lot of information that was coming in from all sorts of direction, and most of this information was contradictory. So you'll hear people say it's airborne, it's not airborne, you need to wear a mask, you don't need to wear a mask. And there are a couple of theories that came up into how it started and all that. So it got to a point where I had to choose what I had to listen to. I believed I would remain strong through this. However, I realized it had an impact in it was causing me some mental stress. And so I had to choose what I had to listen to. And specifically, I was more focused on information in terms of preventing the virus as compared to theories on how it started, who is doing what.
Yes.
And I would also like to give it as advice to Kenyans. I would also request Kenyans to focus more on the important and critical area, which is how to prevent yourself from contracting the virus. And we should spend less effort into the politics of the day, the politics surrounding the COVID-19. If only we know we need to wash our hands, we need to wear a face mask, we don't need to touch surfaces, we need to maintain social distancing, we need to self-isolate. We need to go take tests when we feel that we are having some health issues. I think that should be the main focus. It is also not lost to me that it was a time of need for most of us.
Sure.
It did not get to a point where we really lacked the basic needs, but we were facing the risk of lacking some of these needs. So one of the things that I learned during this time is there are a lot of things that we do normally that we can do without. And I think I also learned that it is during the time of need that we really need each other, or call on the Kenyan population to really assist each other. However much we are looking up to the government, up to the World Health Organization, up to the rich people of the country to assist each other. I think this goodwill should start within ourselves. It should start within the families. It should start within our organizations, such as religious organizations. It's a high time that all of us come together, reach out to that friend, that relative who you think might not be in a position to afford some of the basic needs due to the nature of their work. It's time for us to reach out to them before we can bash the government, before we can bash other big organizations, the rich people. We all need to put some effort in the little way we can. Here in China, I saw a lot of volunteership from their citizens, and I think it's a good thing. It really played a big deal in handling of this pandemic in the way that they have managed to handle it. So if there's one thing that I've learned is we need to be there for each other. And I think we can spend some of the money that we spend doing activities that we can do right now, we can spend that money in assisting other less fortunate people in our society. So I think it was a good lesson.
Well, quite interesting there, and I'm really grateful to hear that. And something also that I took home myself when we were having this conversation earlier is that you also found that there is this, emotional attachment. There is this spirit of, caring for each other among the Chinese people whom you say were very supportive to you guys, isn't it?
Yeah, the Chinese community has always been their center has always been the family, and they happen to be very helpful. Even before the pandemic, in case you're in a problem, you had a language barrier. Anyone who who has the advantage of knowing the English language, will always come in and assist you in any way they can. So there is a spirit, like it's a spirit of taking pride in volunteering, taking pride in helping, taking pride in making the world a better place. That has really helped them a lot in how they've handled. And I believe even back at home, we have our own African tradition, like you said, shaking hands,
Yes.
saying hi to people, being generous to visitors, living as an extended family. I think we should, it's a high time now that we take advantage of this culture to be able to remain strong as a society.
Well, definitely. And speaking about spirit, there is the spirit of Harambe that has always been, with us since our independence. And I think it's also high time that we show that. I like what you say, that the money we are spending right now to do some of the activities that are not really necessary or that are not really like basic needs. We should think about, setting that up also to help out other people who are already suffering at this time, because there are some people who are casual laborers who, work hand to mouth and they don't save a dime. Yet right now they are restricted in terms of how much or how far they can access their work, and there are people already suffering right now. Well, I think quite a lot, and I would say that that experience has made you a wiser and better person, Kamau. Can I say that?
Yeah. They say wisdom comes with age. Maybe I got quite a bit during this time. Or rather, what they say in Swahili, akili ni nywele. I'm not sure if my new hairstyle has something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, I was commenting about your hair and I was telling you, hey, you look good in your hairstyle. And you're like, no, this is not my hair. So I check out your profile photo and I realize that you're quite a different person without hair.
This was not initially my look. I would always be clean shaven, no beard at all. But during this lockdown, it was some of these things become a luxury, and I had to adapt very quickly. So I've just realized I don't look as bad in an afro and a beard. I might keep the beard after this.
I'd like you to keep the afro as well, Kamau.
I didn't know I had good hair. I always kept my hair short. I look a bit different. I also gained a lot of weight, but I think after I also like it, but I'll have to keep fit. This morning I went for a morning run for
All
the
right.
first time, just to feel the freedom. I went for a morning run as I went for my breakfast, and it wasn't easy. So I'll also advise Kenyans to try to keep fit. The Chinese here love skipping the rope. It requires very little space. Unfortunately for me, I do not possess this special set of skills to skip a rope.
But I mean, it's good to see that you're healthy. It's good to see that, I mean, you can afford a smile and also share the ordeal with other Kenyans today on GBS Morning Extra. And we're really grateful for that. And we're happy for you also that you're doing well, and other students as well. Another issue, also another matter that we're really grateful about is the fact that you have said to us, to the best of your knowledge, which is not very authoritative, but then to the best of your knowledge, there is no Kenyan student who have actually contracted the coronavirus while during this time. And it's something to be thankful to before God come out. Maybe your parting shot as we finish this morning.
Well, maybe it's just a call to Kenyans to to remain as positive as possible during this time. Make sure they remain as happy as they take the necessary measures, comply with the necessary laws that are in place, put an extra effort in assisting the situation, and also take the issue from the community and from the family level and the community level coming up to the government. It will be much easier that way.
Well, indeed, we will take that advice. Thank you very much, Kenneth Kamau. That's Kenyan Kamau, a Kenyan student studying in WUHAN, the Hearst University in WUHAN, China. and he took the liberty of joining us this morning and just sharing with us his experience, life under a lockdown, and what experience they went through during this time. A lot of Kenyans were worried about our relatives, our friends and family members who are in Wuhan, bearing in mind that during the seriousness of the situation, although there was a lot of calls for Kenyans to be evacuated, this did not happen. But then we are grateful to hear that you are safe and that you're sound. Thank you very much once again, Kamau. I really do hope that we will get a chance to actually meet in person, and I'm really glad to speak to you. I feel relieved, to be very honest. I feel relieved that you can share such a positive story from what people and the media have always been trying to paint a negative picture of the real situation.
It has been my pleasure to be part of your show this morning.
Thank you very much, and you have a good day. I believe you guys are 5 hours ahead of us, so you're pretty much into the afternoon now.
Yeah, it's around lunchtime. I'm just going to get my lunch.
Okay, let me release you so that you can go downstairs and get your lunch. You're going to use the stairs or you're going to use the lift? You're in the 18th floor, or which floor are you?
I'm right at the middle of the building. I'm on the 9th floor, but I will not use the stairs now. I think the morning run took quite a toll on me this morning, so I prefer the lift now.
Maybe the stairs going down and the lift coming back up.
Yeah, probably that will also do.
All right, thank you very much. You do have a lovely day. Enjoy your meal. How do they say enjoy your meal in Chinese?
Unfortunately,
all right,
I don't remember that now, but I'll sure to research on it. Next time I'll be on your show, I'll have it.
Thank you. And we end it on that light note. Viewer, thank you very much for joining us. We were joined today by Kenneth Kamau, a Kenyan student studying telecommunication in Wuhan, China. And it's really glad and happy, I felt relieved, to be very honest, to speak to someone in that territory, a place where many people have been worried about the people living there. But then, as we are hearing in the news also as well, the lockdown is being eased. And as we heard from Kamau himself, first it was no going outside your room. Then for a week you're allowed to go maybe once in 2 hours. And now he's saying at least daily you're allowed, to go out for your breakfast, for your lunch, and also for your evening meal. And thank you also to the Chinese people in Wuhan who have been very kind to our people and assisting them all along. Well, viewer, that brings us to the end of our program this morning. For comments, suggestions, or opinion, don't forget to send us an SMS on 21144. Our hashtag is GBS Morning Extra. Our Twitter handle, of course, is at Kenya GBS. My name is Timothy Omondi. Do have yourself a lovely day, and God bless.